All right, what's going on, everyone? This is Marco Liano, and welcome to episode 1 of Rise Up, my podcast, or whatever I'm going to call this. But the reason I'm doing this video right now is this is an energy that I really want to be able to capture and to have other people that may be experiencing this. I've been really called to just get in front of the camera. I'm recording this for YouTube as well. I'll be using this audio for this podcast that you're hearing right now. But I was hearing well, first and foremost, let me give you a little bit of background, a little bit of an idea of where I'm coming from. So with a new year, there are new intentions, new goals that you set, and recently going through a transformational breakthrough workshop, a lot of things have been coming up to the surface that need to be resolved, that need to be cleared out, and during this process, still having I would say, the pressure that I feel in order to create, to put things out there, to finish tasks, to do the things that you need to do. There has been a level of resistance, and this is what I want to talk about today. Particularly resistance. I've been really feeling resistance over the last maybe week or so, but more strongly maybe the last 2 days. And what is resistance? Now, if you're familiar with any one of the books I actually have here. Sorry for this feedback. I'm getting over the fact of doing things perfectly, so I'm going to put out this audio how it is. Please forgive me for that, but I think the execution of the very thing that you need to do is more important than how it looks, how it sounds. It's still important and improving, but taking action is the number one thing. So this book, The War of Art. Now, this book it just came back into my mind, but it talks a lot about breaking through resistance. And what resistance is that little voice in your head that says, I need to do this, I should do this, I gotta do this. And resistance is the voice that says, no, you gotta do this, or you should probably do that, or oh, maybe you feel tired right now, or I feel like you're overwhelmed. Let's just throw some extra stress on you to think about that and to worry about that, so you don't need to do the thing that you said you were going to do. And that's where I realized that my integrity was starting to falter, not only in my life professionally, but also relationships, where not following through with my word, not following through with my commitment, and the feeling of guilt behind that of that's not how I want to operate, that's not how I want to be perceived. And it's not like I'm trying to be perceived in a certain way by people, but I would want somebody that I would want to be the type of person that is in integrity, is committed, and is following through on their word. Therefore, I have to be that first. And I've recently been having a challenge with that, just because I feel like growing up, I've had a tendency to please people. And sometimes that means setting unrealistic expectations for yourself and for them that sound good, that will on paper or idealistically sound good, but then the follow through is where things lack, or where things don't happen. And this has been coming up, and I haven't realized of how crippling it is on progress. And it's that resistance that I just realized that I just identified, I would say. I identified that it was there, that it was present, and I needed to channel it out. So I started to move my body, started to stretch, because a lot of the energy that I was feeling, you have to be able to process it some way. If you let it sink into your body and you get stuck on the feeling of like anxiousness and whatever that may come up for you, it's not going to be healthy for you. And if you keep stacking onto that, that's how your body gets into dis-ease, right? Where things start to pop up that are a result of that state of thinking, that state of believing. And just what I really began to realize and really sink into my being and knowing is that who we are internally, who we are when we are thinking, right? When we're in here or in our heart. Most people on the outside can't see that, yet we are reflected the very same energy back to us in our day-to-day lives, whether it's people that you're speaking with, it's, you know, if you have a business, clients that you're working with, attracting or talking to, potential clients, you're going to be reflected the same energy that you're giving out. And ultimately, the feedback that I have been getting, and this is super vulnerable for me to share, just because of my people-pleasing tendencies of how I want to be perceived, is that I wasn't following through with my commitments. And that one really hit like the heart the most, because I want to do the most for other people and be there and always be their go-to person. And when I heard that is when I realized that I haven't been living in my most integral self. That either I would say something or promise something that maybe is a bit unrealistic, because if I say something that would be within my boundaries of what I could be what's possible for me to do, then there's a fear inside of my head that says, well, if you take that long, you know, they're not going to want to work with you because you're too slow. So let's give them a super fast, expedited, unrealistic expectation so it sounds good. But at the end of the day, you're going to take that longer route because you really understand and you know that's going to take longer, and you overestimate what you can do in a short amount of time, and you put that overwhelming pressure on yourself that you think because working under pressure is better for you for some reason, and you start working in stress, you start working in out of fear, and it's not a healthy way to work. And I feel like I've been in that space, which is not conducive to what I want to create. And so the reason I hopped on to right now, I haven't planned this, but what came to me when I was going through the release work is I just have to hop on when I'm experiencing this and record this. One, because I can capture this in its most rawest form of what I'm experiencing, rather in the past tense. I share it with you where I'm currently at. And two, it's really taking that initial step of doing the very thing that you know you need to do, but you've been hesitant about it, saying things to delay the action that you need to take. And I have been doing that. I've been filling my calendar or my time with things that are distracting me from the very thing that I need to do, which is to create, to put my message out there. And I'm working on various other projects and working with various clients and working the front end of the business, doing prospecting and reaching out to clients and following through with people, and also fulfilling work, and then working on future projects. As a creator that's starting off, that can be very, very intense, especially if you're not used to it. And I've gotten to a point where I can operate at that level for some sustained period of time, where maybe my surroundings or my circumstances around me, what I'm currently being shown is where there is lack, right? Where maybe I haven't signed that client yet, or haven't gotten paid yet, or I'm waiting on some money, and then there's bills to pay. And anybody that's a business owner that's out there, they know this. Or even if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're currently, making it paycheck to paycheck, this is kind of like that fear state that we've learned, or that we're conditioned to operate in, because we have to constantly seek external things to make us feel better about what's going on internally, rather than facing the very thing that is making us feel uncomfortable. And so what came up for me is understanding that, okay, I have bills to pay, one. Two, I have so many projects that I want to create and feel like there's so much on my plate that I don't know where to start. And I put things off and delay things, and this habit of procrastination. I'm not a procrastinator. I realize this, and instead of thinking of myself in this way, I can say I just have a habit of procrastinating. I have a habit of putting things off. I have a habit of overestimating what I can do in a short period of time, and I'm underestimating what I can do over a long-term sustained period of time. And so when I got in front of the camera, that's really initiating the step that I need to take, which is just express what I'm talking about. I talk about expression all the time, expressing yourself, expressing who you are, expressing what you're all about, and yet I haven't been following through on my own commitment and saying that I would be the first to express this, to share my thoughts, to share my experience my perspective, my emotions, share my feelings. And when this arose, it gave me the opportunity to step into that bravery and to step into that courageous act of actually just doing the thing that you know you need to do, and to stop fearing it, because I think at some level I've been fearing it. That resistance has been, I've been riding up against the resistance, and at times your resistance and your faith are, you know, sometimes your resistance is stronger than your faith. And it's not about removing the resistance. That's not what's going to get you to where you want to go. It's strengthening your faith and your action to push through resistance. And I think that's where the resistance and my faith have been almost like equal energy, kind of like I'll push faith a little bit forward and then sometimes resistance comes back, and it's almost been a break even battle. But that the action step, where that's where I've been the most hesitant, I would say, or resistance has been the most like grasping me in that like space of resistance. And every creator experiences this thing, you know, some level of resistance, whether you're just hesitant of recording a video, you know, just hitting the button, or whether you're, you know, hesitant of learning how to edit or send this out to somebody to get edited, having the video get edited, or your podcast get edited, whatever it is, or even just hitting that post, that upload. There is resistance at some level that you experience when you are doing something that is outside of the norm, that is outside of the cultural, societal beliefs of what it is that you should be. So, I mean, for me as a videographer, I've kind of started this journey as a videographer, and I see myself as much more than a videographer now, because I've learned a ton of more skills and have a lot of more things that I can bring of value to the marketplace. But to be quite honest, I've been scared to do that because it's something that I don't know if it exists. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to, you know, be the right thing to do. Like all these things that are going in my mind, because I've always been so, I mean, I've been in the personal transformation, personal development, like arena or the world, since I was 17 years old, and now I'm 24, so for 7 years, all I've known is really like transformation and change and personal development and growth. But there did get to a point where I was consuming so much information about personal development that it almost became a addiction to learning rather than an addiction to doing. And getting obsessed with doing, like there's a balance between the learning and the doing. And then another component is your being. Who are you being when you are creating? Who are you being when you are uploading? Who are you being when you feel that resistance coming up? How do you show up? Do you show up and cower from it? Do you pull away? Do you shy away? Do you like, you know, don't talk to anybody? Like what is it that your natural tendency to do is? And for me is to shut off, to restrict myself, to dim myself, so I'm not seen when I am in my imperfect stage that I feel like. Because what I'm going through right now, feeling this resistance, it feels like there's something wrong with me. It feels like I shouldn't be like this, you know? And it's that very thing that has stopped me from sharing or getting in front of the camera when I'm experiencing this. Like I'll have cycles where I'm like on top of the world, like I got this, I'm really inspired to create, let's go, I made this and I did a bunch of work like this. And there's other days where I'm just like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to create. I don't want like resistance where it overtakes. And going on kind of this roller coaster of emotions to actions, and being able to act despite the emotions, I've been experiencing that. And there's been a way that I've wanted things to be displayed, and the very thing of like how you think it should look like is also what's going to be stopping you from creating. Ultimately, like the art that we create is the magic within our hearts. Like that is what wants to be expressed. And if you let resistance stop you from doing that, it's literally telling your heart no. And it's blocking it off from truly like and wholly embracing your magic that's within you. Because when you give into resistance, you don't allow the magic to flow in. The magic of creativity, the magic of trusting, the magic of doing daily actions. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I've struggled with waking up early and going to sleep on time. Like, I've struggled with that, just because I've thought in my mind, like, oh, I can just go with the flow. I'll just go to sleep when I can. And being an entrepreneur, that makes it even more tougher because you don't have a boss to tell you when to wake up. You don't have a boss to tell you like when you should be doing work, when you shouldn't be doing work. Like, you have to be able to face the fact that you're going to be the only one that's going to get you to do things. And sometimes that can be scary because when it's up to you, when you have to take responsibility for your own actions and for your own habits, if you fail, it's only dependent on you, right? And I think I've seen this in various areas of my life, is when I am going in a streak or doing something consistently, and then this resistance pops up in my mind, that is a self-sabotaging technique that I've learned that would prevent me from pushing past my normal area of like comfort, right? Because if you're like growing like a blade of grass, and all of a sudden you grow faster than all these other blades of grasses, you're going to be the sore thumb. You're going to be the person that's sticking out. And there was a fear of me doing that. It was a fear of being seen. It was a fear of what if I actually did share, who I was, what I was all about. If I embraced my power, if I like got out there, and people wouldn't like me then, And so I would have a self-sabotaging technique, or not a technique, a self-sabotaging habit of when I reach some level of consistency, or when I reach some level of like daily action steps. When I remember a time when I did that, there was some thought that came into my mind that it was okay for me to stop. When you think about like what you want to create, what you want to be, where you want to go, and if it's a lifelong support or lifelong journey, why would you stop doing it if this is what you really love? And so this is something that has recently come up with me in creating content. I've been so hesitant on putting out my own content. I've been so hesitant on sharing my message because I don't know if it's the right thing to do. It's the scariest thing to do for me, even though it may be easy for me to do it in public. When it comes to not doing it in public, to doing it with like, and sharing and expressing vulnerably with like the people closest to me, I'm good at that. Now it's a matter of getting in front of a camera and doing it. And by saying it, I think is really one thing that I've learned is it helps me, when I speak it helps me get the message, to hear what it is that I am telling myself. And when I hear that, I'm able to process it. So sometimes speaking the very thing that we need to hear from ourselves, like that is what needs to be heard when you speak it. So this is me practicing that, and to do the very thing that I know I need to do, which regardless of how much money I make or how much like success or whatever it is, I just want to be able to share my story, to share my, like, express myself wholly in every way that I can, because I think there's lessons and there's things that I've learned that may be helpful for somebody that's out there. Because I think I'm not the only one that may be going through this and experiencing this. And at times I wish that I saw people that I can relate with in my journey. And so I get to be that for somebody out there, that when they hear this video, when they hear this podcast, they can say, I can relate to that. Thank you. You've helped me through this hard time, because this is not easy, guys. This road of entrepreneurship, this road of doing what you want to do, going out there and creating and going against societal standards, and really going out there and having the courage, like it can be a cold, scary place. I've been lucky enough to make it as far as I have so far, to be able to continue doing what I'm doing. But it's been a big like work or exercise on my faith. Like, ever since my journey started, like, no joke, it has been a hustle, it has been a grind, it has been something that I've had to push through nights of just emotional turmoil of just like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to pay for rent? How am I going to, you know, make this happen? How am I going to make that happen? And it's been a big chance for me to learn surrender. And I think this is where 2019 was really the rebirth stage in my Phoenix transformation. It's where I was able to take my ego to the fire and have it be reborn every time. It's a painful process. It is not easy, you know, going through the deep, like transformational, emotional work where you go there, you find those things that have been painful and you confront them. You bring those back up and you work it through that. You know, you work through those emotions, because the only way through the pain is through the pain. Like, you got to go through it. And I think I've been avoiding that pain at some degree and some level, just by overworking, overdoing, and thinking just by doing more and putting more on my shoulders, that meant I was becoming more successful. But what I realized is that just because you do more doesn't mean you're more successful. You know, you have very, very successful people out there that do a lot less than a normal person does, but they earn way more, right? And why is that? It's because they have a particular set of skills that doesn't require as much energy and effort as what maybe 95% of the world does, but it's being able to step in those states of uncertainty and act in those states that can make them a lot of money. And when it comes to being a creative, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, what I feel through this process is when you experience those states of discomfort, of fear, of uncertainty, you don't get paid by doing the actual work. I think the work will change and will fluctuate. It's when you can embrace these states of discomfort courageously and do the thing that you know you need to do, despite what you're feeling. And as you go through that, yes, you want to work through that emotional essence, that emotional beingness that you're currently going through, what you're experiencing. And I think it's important to express it. Express it through your actions, express it through your beingness, your presence, whatever it may be, but learning to do it. And I'm learning this. This whole video is me just practicing this very thing that I'm talking about. You know, I knew I had to hit the record button and just hop in. I didn't care what it looked like. I don't care what it sounds like. It's just doing the damn thing and doing it as often as you can. Like, that's something that I'm learning here, and I wanted to hop on. And the whole reason for this podcast, this video, for everything that I'm sharing, is to be as vulnerable and transparent as I can be, and really share with you guys the real shit, you know, the real things that an entrepreneur can go through. You know, not to say that everyone has to go through this or everyone should go through this. This is just the process that I'm going through. This is the process that I'm currently integrating and that I get to overcome, that I'm blessed to overcome. But it's still not easy. And I think there's just not enough people talking about it. You know, those fears that come up as entrepreneurs, that you think you have to be perfect. In my mind, here's what I thought. I have to be this perfect being, this perfect, like, entrepreneur that has it all figured out, that has the money coming in, that has the answers, that knows everything at all times. And that's the thing that's been holding me back from creating. It's because I think I have to be perfect in front of everybody, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We are imperfect human beings. We are imperfect beings in general in this physical form. Our spiritual, like, being and our essence is what is the most powerful part of us. And to be stuck in the physical of who I am at this moment in my emotions is not your highest self. That is not your highest self, and like your infinite love and your infinite potential. It does not exist in those emotions. It's in a plane higher than that. Your emotions are what you experience in this physical form of what you're experiencing in your higher vibrational self. And when you can learn to embrace those emotions wholly and like wholeheartedly, and embracing them for what they are, and they're visitors. Like, this is what you're currently experiencing. Here's what you need to learn. Embrace that. Learn from it. When you can do that, those miracles happen. And that's what I've experienced in my life. When I trust that, when I believe that that's what I attract, when I express my truth full-heartedly, great things happen. When I'm vulnerable, magic happens. And sometimes I don't believe that, or resistance convinces me to not believe that. And I really wanted to talk about this today because it's real to me. It's raw to me. And whoever needs to hear this right now, like, I'm doing this for you because I'm also doing this for myself. This is the message that I would like to hear from me. This is me channeling my higher self. Is just expressing what's on my mind and being able to go there and express that and share that. I think that's where my highest expression lives. And when I'm able to step in the state of flow, where just whatever's coming out of my mouth right now is just what's coming out. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not like planning what I'm going to say next. I don't know if this makes sense. I don't know if this is going to be of any value, but I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about just like being in my wholehearted self right now and sharing that. And be willing to step into that more often than not. And really, that's the message that I'm here to, I think, to be an example for people, to be an example for myself, that I can be that person, that entrepreneur that is super raw, that's super authentic with who he is, with what he's about, with the message that he's sharing love, sharing like peace, sharing prosperity. Because I think this is what we need in this world. Just we're too caught up in this lower vibrational state of thinking, of being in fear, being in lack, being in a poverty state of mind, or like, I got to do this for me and I can't be with anybody else. And, strangers are evil, or, I can't trust people. Like, that's not in the state of mind that I want to be in, that I want to create, that I want to live in. I want to create a world where we are loving each other, where we're in community, when we are helping each other and helping each other up. Like, it's a whole new paradigm that I've thought of, like, idealistically, but been scared to share that vision, I would say, because it's not what's the current reality. But at the same time, I've been scared of being the visionary to actually start speaking about it and creating it, because now, what does it mean if everything I speak about, everything that I talk about, if I'm able to express it here online, express it with myself and my whole essence, my whole being, what would it look like if I actually created that? Who would I have to be every day? I would have to hold myself accountable. I would have people hold me accountable. And that's uncomfortable. And I was afraid of that. And therefore, I never acted on it. And I think that's where ultimately my biggest resistance has been, is fully enveloping and fully like accepting the power that I have, you accepting the power that you have, we all accepting the power that we have as human beings. Like, we're super, super strong when we come from a place of love, when like we're helping people. That is the ultimate joy of being a human being, living in those states, and we can live in those states. And that's what scares me, is living a life of actually being able to be happy, to be free, to be creative, to laugh, to enjoy. Because it would mean leaving a world behind that I've known. The world of struggle, the world of push, the world of being tired and sad and, feeling depressed at times and feeling like, is there hope? Like, am I going to make this? Am I going to make it out alive? Am I going to make it through this? These are thoughts that I've had, and I've been really hesitant to share that because I didn't want people to think I was weak, that I was, there's so many things that come into my mind of like sharing this. We're all thinking that I have to be this certain way, this certain entrepreneur that has it all figured out. That I have to be this entrepreneur that has it all figured out. And reality is I don't have it figured out. I don't have anything figured out. I'm figuring it out as I go, and being able to let go and accept that fact that I have no idea what I'm doing. And there's so many people out here and so many entrepreneur gurus that you see online that they're going to teach you that very simple step of how to do it, how to exactly get to $1 million in this amount of time. Like, that's great. That's wonderful. I thought that that's how I had to do it because that's what I've seen. Yeah, my heart was calling me to do something differently. And where I see, and this is the struggle that I've had with social media, with the online presence, of like feeling that there's so many people being incongruent and fake about what it is that they're creating or what it is that they're teaching, and not actually teaching people, or they are popular for the wrong reasons. But these are all things that I was criticizing myself about. The very things that I would be criticizing others about is the things that I would criticize about myself. Therefore, I didn't take action, because why would I do that if the people that I see doing it, what if I was become that person? So I wouldn't want to say that to myself. So why would I take action? And that was the interesting part of all of this. Being in a position just where I just share what's going on in my life, what I'm doing, what I'm creating, like just get in the habit of doing that, because I think that's what wins in this long term, where you create a community, where you create a following, you create a tribe of people that are coming from a place of like doing something small every day continually, to be in a state of flow, to be in a state of presence, to be in a state of like love, happiness, and joy, and also be abundant. You know, you don't have to be into that stressful and that one day I'll be happy, one day I'll have that. It's like, if you have that now and you're able to come from a state of happiness now, like what would the life you want to live look like if you were doing it now? And for me, I said, well, once I'll make it, I can start creating content. Once I have money, I can start creating content for myself. I can start posting. I can start sharing. I can start helping. Like, once I have this, then I'll be able to do that. And what really I understood is like, once you have that, it's like, what's the point? Why wouldn't you do that now? You can start showing this now. You can start sharing. Like I said, I don't know anything, guys. I'm learning through this process. I'm 24 years old, been going at entrepreneurship for 7 years. I'm still figuring it out, you know? And there was a bit of incongruency where I was afraid if I was seen as somebody that didn't know anything, or that didn't, that hasn't had the results to say that I know something, right? I've been figuring things out. I'm still, in business, I guess. And still, working on myself and improving myself and doing things that I need to do to grow every single day. Been doing that, but yet I'm still working to break through the financial barrier, the financial ceiling that I felt, or that lack that I felt. But then I associated lack with not doing or not creating. So now I switched that in my mind. I said, well, if I create, I am abundant. Because the very act of creation means you turn nothing into something. You go from not having a video to having a video. You go from not posting something to posting something. From not sharing your voice to sharing your voice. It's nothing into something. Taking what's inside of your mind, inside of your heart, and putting it out. That's creation. That's creation energy. And like, at a deep level, I understand this and know this, yet I fear it. I fear if I was right. I fear actually being right about the things that I think about. It's so weird, because the funny part is that I know if I start to create videos every day and start to just share my like what's coming through for me, just being vulnerable, I know people will find value in that. I know people will like it. I know people will subscribe to it. I know people will reach out to me. I know I'll be able, like, that will come. I know this at an inherent deep core level. And there's that little bit of resistance that says, can you handle it? Can you handle all of that comes in? And my current level of being thinks that I can't. If I'm in my physical of like, I can't handle that, that'll be too much. Because I've had that happen and I just become overwhelmed. But my higher self telling me, you can do that. You can learn. You can be more strategic. You can say no to specific people you may not want to work with. You can create a system. You can bring people on board. You can earn the money to build that business how you want to actually build it. You can. And so when you no longer can accept the fact that, like, you can't blame the fact, not a fact, you can't blame yourself for not knowing what to do. Because you know what to do. I know what to do. It's just to create, to make the time, to be disciplined, to do it every day. A little bit every day, compounded, is going to be a lot. And so we know what to do, but the hardest part is just doing it. When you feel the resistance, when you feel that uncertainty, when you feel that lack, create, put something out there, express. Like I was feeling that coming from a place of lack where I didn't feel like I had enough, wasn't enough. How, survival kicked into gear, and I'm like, how am I going to do this? And it came to me that I just needed to create. I needed to do something. I needed to put something out. The cure to lack is creating the life you want to live, creating the content you want to create, creating the change in the world that you want to see. If I want to see more transparency and authenticity with people that I see online, I get to be that first. I get to show you when I'm in the mess. My business is at a point of like, I really got to do something here soon. My living situation, like all those things that have an effect on us that on the outside most people won't see and most people won't know about. And this is the reason why most people feel like I'm a sensitive being. Like I feel things at a deep core level. And running a business and still going through all this, like it makes it even much more of a challenge to be able to grow through that. And so I wanted to share this because I know somebody that out there that may need to hear this, that may be experiencing this. And this is the part of Rise Up of this podcast, this video that I wanted to share, is when you're in those moments of like feeling like you may be defeated, like your head's down and you're like, how am I going to do this? I'm unsure of how to do this. Like, what's the right step to take? Did I take the right step? Did I overstep? Did I understep? And you start to question every single move that you make. You take a deep breath. And you find your presence. You find your essence. And you realize your power. You realize your strength is in the mess. When you can share that, when you can be wholeheartedly who you are, show up however you show up, like it's okay. You will get better. You will improve. You will grow. You will get consistent with things. And I will get consistent with things. I am getting consistent with things. I am getting in the habit of it. And even resistance like causes you to forget about the blessings that have come into your life, the amazing miracles that have come into your life. Like I got, I don't have it with me, but at this this leadership academy that I was at, my buddy that I was doing a lot of the exercises with, she gave me a little pebble to carry every day. And what the pebble says is, every day holds a possibility of a miracle. And I get to remind myself that. I get to remind myself that every day, somehow, some way, there's a possibility for a miracle to come in my life. It might be in the moments when I need it the most, where it seems like I've lost all hope, that something somehow, some way comes into my life and lifts me back up and helps me rise up. And it's trusting that you're being supported, you're being guided, even though it doesn't feel that way. Because it can be a lonely process. It can be very lonely when you're going through this transformational journey, when you're turning your lives and your dream world into a reality, where on the outside people seeing that you have been struggling per se, or just making it by, and to make that shift into from just getting by to thriving, to being that successful entrepreneur, to being that content creator, to being that coach, that artist, that YouTuber, whatever you want to be, that is living their dreams. And I want to document that, I want to show that for what it is, the truth and the essence. Like, stuff isn't easy, guys. This is very, at least in my experience, it has been very intense. My risk tolerance has gone through the roof, and sometimes it feels like I have to take greater and greater risks, and so I'm getting more comfortable with the size of the risk that I'm taking. But now it's like playing smart with my risk. I know I can do it, but what risk am I willing to do moving forward? And so my goal is to really get at least a video a week on YouTube of me just sharing this, and just get in the habit of creating, get in the habit of putting stuff out there, putting content out there. I don't know exactly what things are going to look like right now. I'm going to be quite honest. Nor do I want to put myself to the expectation that I have to know how it's going to be figured out, how it has to be, play out. We'll see in a year of me doing this, how things are going to be at that point in time. Might be different. And that's the scary part, but also the adventurous part. The very same nerves that you feel from anxiousness is because you're thinking about the future. Now, instead of worrying about what's going to happen in the future, that's where you get that anxiety coming through, and that's where you worry. But what if you change that same emotional reaction that you're getting of anxiety, of your heart racing and feeling uneasy? What if you change that to excitement? You're excited to create, you're excited to put stuff out there, you're excited to put content out there, you're excited to go after what you want to do, you're excited to take the risk, you're excited to be courageous and just do the thing. How much easier is it to create? Way easier. So much easier. Because now you're coming from a place of genuineness and authenticity, and from your soul, versus from the ego of who you think you need to be, what you think you need to say. Things become very different. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Hopefully you guys gained some value of this. This was not structured at all. This was just literally something that was coming through my mind, and me sharing this. I really want to get a habit, and I'm choosing to make this a habit now and express myself and put stuff, put content out there, put high quality, soulful, heart connected content of just where I'm at, as a human being, what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing in this process of entrepreneurship. So I hope you guys gain some value from this. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. You don't have to, but I would appreciate it. And to bring you along with my journey this year of 2020, which I think it's really about stepping into my power. And I want to show what that process looks like, because it is not easy. I think you see people that once they level up, or they go through that process of their own personal ascension, you see them for who they had to develop themselves into after the fact. And then you're like, wow, they were lucky. Wow, they always known that, and they never doubted themselves. That's not always the case. Sometimes we doubt ourselves, and we have things that we go through. And I want to share that. I want to share that as I'm going through the process, because one day I would want to look back at this and hear this, or have my grandkids hear this when I'm 80 years old, and I look back when I was 24 years old and struggling to figure things out, and when I took the leap and doing my own thing, and what I was thinking at that point in time. And I want to look back at it when I'm 80, 90 years old and appreciate what I'm saying right now. And the 80-year-old me right now is saying, like, I'm so proud of you, Marco. I'm so proud of you for taking that step, for taking that leap, for sharing what's on your heart. You have created the most amazing, amazing connections with human beings that resonate with who you are. You have accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish. You've made a huge impact on this world just by your courageous act of stepping into your own power, owning the fact that you are a powerful human being. And my 80-year-old self looking back at me right now and saying, keep going. You got this. You don't need to worry. And that's what I want to share with people. Like, this is the process. And this is why I think documenting is so important. And I get to do that first. I document my process. And I'm going to be as raw and as vulnerable as I can be. Share with you my ups and my downs. Because I'm far from perfect. I'm like as imperfect as a imperfect being can be. But I'm getting better. I'm improving. I'm working on it. And just by being able to express this is progress in and of its own. So thank you guys so much for watching this video or listening on this podcast. Super impromptu. We'll get better, but I don't care about how it looks right now. I just want to put out content. So hopefully you guys get some value from this. Really appreciate everybody that's watching this. I took the time. This is a much longer video than I would normally do. And a podcast, I really want to deliver that value. So yeah, thank you for watching today's episode of Rise Up, or watching this on my YouTube channel. Follow me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram. Where else? YouTube, Instagram. Yeah, follow me on those platforms. TikTok too, I guess. I'm on TikTok. And I'll talk to you guys on the next video. Peace.